A massive news just came in, and apparently Apple is getting sued by the Biden administration's Department of Justice. Yes, that is an event that is actually happening at the moment. And it is an antitrust lawsuit which allegedly states that Apple has an illegal monopoly, and the main word here is illegal monopoly, over the smartphone market with the iPhones and also its device lockdown ecosystem. Now, before we go any further, I just want to say that instead of getting sued by illegal monopoly, I think Apple should instead be sued by how they are pricing their storage and also their RAMs on their MacBook Pro. And they also should be sued for not giving the right to repairs to customers, which can lead to also Apple being accused of being the reason why other smartphone companies started not giving the right to repairs to customers. I don't know, it's just my opinion. But all of that aside, on a serious note, Apple is getting sued for apparently being an illegal monopoly in the smartphone market. So the main word here is illegal, which according to the DOJ, which I have watched the video, read numerous articles on the alleged claims made toward Apple, it is said that yes, monopoly can exist if the product is superior than its competitor. But for the case of Apple, the DOJ claims that the reason why Apple sort of led the smartphone market for the past years is not because its product is superior to other smartphones in the market, but rather because Apple uses illegal method to lock down its competitor, to prevent its competitor from becoming better. So I have listed these allegations listed by the DOJ, and they are: so with all of those claims being made toward Apple, it is basically stating that Apple is an illegal monopoly in the smartphone market. Hence, it is an antitrust lawsuit. I just want to state what it means by antitrust lawsuit and to bring that into the Department of Justice is suing Apple for. So according to the antitrust lawsuit, it basically means that A, every contract combination or conspiracy in restraint of trade is outlawed, and any monopolization, attempted monopolization, or conspiracy or combination to monopolize is also outlawed. The Federal Trade Commission Act bans unfair method of competition and unfair or deceptive acts or practices. Finally, it prohibits merger and acquisitions where the effect may be substantially to lessen competition or to tend to create a monopoly. So that is basically the essence of the antitrust lawsuit. So right now, I want to sort of break it down, my opinions toward the entire lawsuits and what it means for Apple and what it means for all of us consumers. On this matter, I have read about 10 to 15 articles, and it seems like it's more of a political issue rather than a Biden administration DOJ suing Apple for the sakes of American citizens. Well, in my opinion, the entire lawsuit makes sense to an extent, but at the same time, there are things that don't really make perfect sense. For example, the DOJ states that Apple hold an illegal monopoly over the smartphone markets. It drew examples of Microsoft in the 90s where they were sued by the Department of Justice for similar allegations, and Microsoft, I think they lost the claim. So the result was that Microsoft has to be broken into different parts to ensure there is no monopolizations. To say Apple has a complete monopolization over the smartphone market, it's not really factual, because if we were to go to shops, there are options for consumer to choose. Either go for Android or go for Apple smartphones. And I'm saying all of that in the context in the United States. Beside the US, in other countries, Apple's and Android is in a way always neck and neck, where Android is as prominent as Apple's smartphones. But in the US, it is true that Apple hold a large shares in the smartphone market, but it doesn't completely overshadow Android smartphones. So the claim that Apple holds a complete monopolization over the smartphone market is something that I can't really see as a good claim made against Apple. And we can also see in comment section where people are supporting Apple in that specific claim that when you go and buy a smartphone, you will have different options to choose from. So that doesn't really make Apple a monopoly in the smartphone market.
So they defined why it was a monopoly, and that applies to Apple, even though there are, you could point out, alternatives. And then it gets into a matter of, if you're a monopoly, that's not bad. That's not bad. Being big is not bad. But if you are antitrust, if you are not even and fair, the playing field's not even. The trouble is, it boils down to law. Well, nothing in big tech's easy to use anymore. I'm sorry. You don't own anything. They make changes that you have no control over. Every upgrade seems like a downgrade. This is true of all the companies. It's just ease of use. Apple got that reputation way back 30 years ago or so.
However, yes, Apple definitely has a fair share of problems, which I'm going to list down all of them in a little bit, but I just want to address some more issue that I have regarding to the allegation. For example, with the allegation that Apple exclude cross-platform messaging app, yes, it is true. However, Apple has recently made claims that they are going to include OCS into their ecosystem. So I don't think it is fair to state that in the lawsuit where Apple has made it clear that they are going to include that in. Another claim that I don't think makes sense is regarding the smartwatches, where it says that Apple intentionally diminished the functionality of third-party smartwatches, which from what I'm seeing factually, it's not just Apple who does that. It's also other smartphone companies who are doing the same thing. And speaking of doing the same thing, other companies like Samsung and right now Google, Xiaomi, other brands are also building ecosystem where they want to get the users to stick with their ecosystem for as long as possible without having to get out and spend their money on other, let's say, smartphones or other ecosystems. So those are the problems that I have regarding these entire allegations. And also, in my personal opinions, the reason why the DOJ is suing Apple, just my opinion, is because Apple is a $1 trillion company. So if they win over the lawsuit, you know, they're going to profit a lot from it, right? So I think there is an ulterior motive toward that. But let me know in the comment section if I'm just being stupid with my conspiracy. But I definitely think there's an ulterior motive because, like I said, other companies, smaller companies are doing the same thing, but Apple is just the one getting sued for it. The next problem that I have regarding Apple is that Apple should be held responsible for selling smartphones that are sort of similar to each other from year to year with not lots of innovation. And we can clearly see that from iPhone 14 being a stopgap iPhone, and they basically launched it, consumers spend money on it because it is an iPhone, and Apple made a lot of money. The 15 comes up with good innovation, and probably the 16 is going to be a stopgap iPhone as well. I would say that that is not something that is good business practices, or at least ethical business practices. But is it illegal? Well, if it's not, I think it should be illegal, and I think that Apple should be held responsible for that. And in terms of us, the consumer perspective, from what I see from people voicing their opinions, majority of the people think that what Apple is doing regarding the iPhone is actually fair. But what they are doing regarding pricings on the Macs, the storage unit, the RAMs and all of that, that is unfair and unethical. And in my opinion, yes, that is unfair and unethical. And that is something that Apple should be pressured by. And also in regards to right to repair, that is also something that Apple should be pressured on by the government as well. So with all of that said, I believe that the allegation made by the DOJ, it makes sense to a certain extent, but it also doesn't make sense because of what I just mentioned earlier. Overall, my opinion is that based on so many people using iPhones, reviewers on the internet, and my personal experience with seeing the iPhone's product up close as well, using the Mac, using the iPhones, Apple genuinely make decent products. So I don't think that Apple is responsible for diminishing the innovation, the quality of other smartphone company. I don't think that they are responsible for that, but I believe they should be responsible for not driving innovation themselves because they are good in the market. And I think that that is something that Apple should be held responsible for, because Apple has the money to drive innovation, but they don't. Instead, they keep prolonging innovation. After 1 year of innovation, they release a product that is a stopgap product, and then the next year afterward, they release a good product. The next year afterward, a stopgap product, and we see that kind of trend on Apple product as a whole, not only to the iPhones, to the Mac, like the M2 for example. And I think that that is something that Apple should be held responsible for. That is just my opinion regarding the matter. How about you guys? Do you think that it is fair for Apple to be claimed for all of those allegations? Leave your thought in the comment section down below, and I'm interested to seeing your thought as well. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks, goodbye, and peace.